Welcome to Winning Retirement Television. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. And to our viewers at home, we're going to talk a little bit today about what happens if you've been laid off or if you've been offered a buyout. So stay tuned. Today's going to be very interesting. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. You have my favorite color on today.
Oh.
Baby blue, Tiffany blue, aqua blue.
Yay.
All of the above blues.
Are you feeling blue?
I'm pretty happy.
She's wishing
You
the
look
spring
beautiful.
would come in with her coloring.
You know, I totally am. I truly am. I'm so excited to have blue skies, green grass, flowers
Yes.
everywhere. So thank you for
Yes.
pointing that out. And you look gorgeous. I
Thank
love that
you.
color on you.
Thank you.
Greg, you look very dapper
Oh, thank you.
and happy.
Yes, I am happy. I get to be next to her.
Of course, the two of you together. I just love being with the two of you because your love just comes through and you're just amazing. But today's a very interesting episode, what to do if you've been laid off or offered a buyout. So I have a study I wanted to share with you. According to Wallet Hub, the average American worker puts in over 1,800 hours per year on the job. 1,800 hours. Those of us above a certain age look at a job that more than just a paycheck. It's something that's close to our lives and we're proud of, sometimes part of our identity. So what happens if all of a sudden that's not there any longer? You're laid off.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard because it is part of
Yes.
our identity. I mean, we identify what it is with what it is we do for a living,
Of
right?
course.
Typically, when you have elevator conversations or conversations around the birthday party or kids or grandkids, neighbors, we're talking about what it is we do for a living. So if that's ripped out from under us, what do we say?
That's true.
What's the conversation starter now?
That's always the first question. Oh, hi, my name is Cynthia. By the way, what do you do? I mean, that is the first thing that we say. That's a
Yeah.
great point.
It is, and it's funny, one of our clients who was working into her 70s because she wanted to, and she'd been working for this attorney firm for like 35, 37 years, a really long time. And she wanted to keep working so she could help her grandson get through college. Well, this past December, she shows up on Monday and they said, by the way, this is your last day.
No.
And so at the end of the day, she had to pack up her stuff. And she was so upset. Afterwards, they threw a retirement party for her and gave her a gold necklace with a cross and all those things. And she came in recently for a review. She's like, I'm still so upset. And she said, because I didn't get to go on my own terms.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, so she had no warning whatsoever.
No warning. And, you know, none of us really like being told what to do.
Right.
But especially when it comes to our livelihood, you know, she still had another year of college to help pay for, and now she had to, you know, kind of go a different direction. So that can catch people off guard financially when they're let go unexpectedly.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. I should also ask people that are facing the 401k, the pension decisions due to a layoff or a buyout, what do they possibly do when they get that news? What direction do they even go in? How do they know?
Well, you know, it's interesting. So first there's a shock, like Greg mentioned, because the plans are going to change from what you originally intended. But then it's like, okay, what next, right?
Right.
What's my steps? Like, you know, baking a cake, you're following the steps. Where do I start now? Because now things are out of order from what I expected. And so the first thing you need to do is assess your overall financial situation.
Okay.
You just need to sit back and look at what you have, what you're going to need to get, you know, to get to retirement. Maybe you'll need to go back to work. You don't know. Maybe you won't need to. And so as you start to assess that financial situation, you start to think, okay, I need a plan. You don't want to do anything without a plan.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
And you don't want to make a decision solely based on your emotions.
True.
But there is something you need to make a decision on really fast, and that is your health care.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're under age 65, you really need to start assessing, what am I going to do for my health insurance? You know, because we know a major health issue could cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars if we're not prepared for it. Now, one thing most workers need to realize is that through their employer, most employers are required to offer what is called COBRA,
Okay.
which means that they are automatically able to enroll if they choose, and they can hold that insurance for up to 18 months.
Okay.
So you have an 18-month window you absolutely have in place to have health insurance. Now, if your income is going to be almost nothing or very, very low, they might want to look at the Affordable Health Care Act, because that ACA insurance can offer them very, very low cost insurance with high deductibles, but at least gives you coverage from a major disaster happening with health insurance. Now, if you're 65 or older, you're now eligible for what is Medicare. And Medicare has two primary plans. One is the traditional Medicare, where you have Part A and Part B.
Okay.
And of course, there's Part D, which is prescription drugs.
Okay.
And they have those plans, and then you can choose to have a supplement to fill the gaps with that, or you can take Medicare Part C, which is the Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay.
And now we don't do health insurance, we don't do Medicare, those types of things, but we have someone we've worked with since 1994 that specializes in the health insurance side, and we kind of refer people there. But that health insurance is a big, big, important decision to make as soon as you're laid off.
Sure, that makes perfect sense, because obviously you do not want to be without that. As you know, like you mentioned, you can have perfect health one day and then get a diagnosis the next. So you definitely want to be protected.
Yeah,
Kristen,
go
go ahead.
Yeah, we've talked to people in the past who are trying to decide if they can retire or not. This is when the choice is in their hands, right?
Yes.
And sometimes that health insurance piece of it is the deciding factor. So when I say assess your overall financial situation, you know, that health insurance part of your overall financial health is really important as you're deciding if you're going to have to find another career path, or maybe you just take a part-time job in the meantime while you're trying to get everything laid out.
And how often does that happen, Greg, when you have someone comes in, actually you and Kristen as well, just coming in and saying, Greg, honestly, I've been laid off. I was not expecting this. I don't know if I want to go back to work. Can you take a look to make sure, am I going to be okay if I decide that I want to stay retired?
Oh, yes, for sure. In fact, recently we had someone come in. He's 56 years old and has Parkinson's disease. Now, in this case, it wasn't a layoff or a buyout, but now because of health reasons, no longer able to continue working. And his wife is a couple years younger, but she also has bad health. And so from a healthcare standpoint, they're in a position where they have to retire. And I just met with them a couple of weeks ago, and we're laying it all out. And I said, okay, here's what we have to do. We're going to set aside money here for your income for the first few years, and then we're going to set up an income plan for the long term. So that was that situation in his case, whereas, you know, he wasn't ready to retire from a, you know, emotional standpoint, but he had to be ready to retire. And the thing about it is, when it comes to these big, big decisions, whether it's a layoff, whether it's a buyout, whether it's a healthcare problem, or whether it's just, okay, I'm at the place in life where I want to retire, having everything in place, having an investment strategy, having an income plan, having a tax plan, having a healthcare plan, as we've mentioned here, and then finally our legacy plan. And all those 5 pieces, Cynthia, are part of the decision making that needs to take place whenever we're faced with these big, big decisions, to make sure that we're not making a mistake.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, I know that you and Kristen are so extremely busy, but you've set aside some time for new clients that are coming in for the very first time. Let's talk about what that entails before we take our first commercial break.
Well, sure, Cynthia. And, you know, whenever there's a transition in life, then we have to learn how to transition.
Absolutely.
And part of transitioning, when we're thinking about retirement, or we're thinking about a forced retirement, whether it's forced or volunteer, to have a plan in place. Now, what does that plan look like? Well, a plan for you should look like, I've got my investments in the right place, making sure you're not taking on too much risk. So measuring that risk versus return, making sure you have a dependable income stream that you can count on, making sure you have a tax plan, making sure you've really accounted for health care and met those needs, and whatever's left behind, getting it to those you love as efficiently as possible. Now, even though we are busy, Cynthia, we have set aside time for our viewers. We feel like that's important. So we want everybody to feel like there's an opportunity for them if they really need help. So for you, if you're watching today, if you want to claim that time to meet with us, claim a time to have your appointment to make sure you have a solid retirement plan, just pick up the phone right now. Give us a call, 614-336-7660. We'd love to help.
Greg, thank you so much. Kristen, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, that number to call is 614-336-7660. As Greg mentioned, this is your opportunity to claim your spot today in their office. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years. You deserve to have peace of mind and have the retirement of your dreams. Just have to do one thing, pick up the phone and claim that consultation, 614-336-7660, or grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to Legacy Retirement Group's landing page. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit in depth about what if you're in your 50s or over and all of a sudden you're let go? What happens to your 401k? What do you do with your money at work? Stay tuned. We'll be right back momentarily.
Your retirement plan should never be about a transaction. It should always be about a relationship.
I would describe Greg as a very caring person. I'm not just talking about, retirement planning or even our practice. I mean, in general, he has a genuine heart for people.
Well, obviously, I'm married to the most wonderful, beautiful woman in the world, Kristen.
What you can expect from us is a warm family atmosphere.
I mean, they walk into the room, it just lights the room. They're each other's partner in crime. They work really well together and they keep us happy, and we're just like a tight little family here.
Family is obviously the reason we do everything, the reason we do what we do.
What we do is centered around our family. Our staff is like our family too.
We laugh so much in this office.
I love coming to work every single day and spending time with everybody that's in the office.
I like to say that we have a fun office environment.
There's never a dull moment.
Best bosses in the world. I just love my job.
They create a great work-life balance here.
You really have to like the person that you're asking to help you manage your money. And this is going to be a long relationship. Retirement could last as long as your working years.
So I've been working with retirees now since 1993, helping them create plans and strategies to get through retirement. We believe a retirement-focused portfolio should be true to your goals with as little risk as possible.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement Television. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group, and we're talking all about what if you've been let go, what if you've been laid off, and your whole world has just changed. One of the things I definitely want to talk about is what happens if someone is in their 50s or even over, and all of a sudden they've been let go, or perhaps a company buyout. Wow, what happens to their 401k? Greg, what should they be doing with the 401k?
Well, the first thing is don't assume anything.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, I just recently had someone come in the office and they were in their 50s, were retiring, and the first advisor they met with said, I want you to roll everything over to an IRA. Well, the trouble was they were going to need a good bit of income from 56 to 59 and a half, that 3.5-year window. Mm-hmm. And if they rolled all their money into an IRA, now as they pulled money out of an IRA prior to age 59 and a half, they would be subject to a 10% excise tax penalty.
Oh, wow. 10%.
10%. So on top of the normal federal and state taxes they would pay, now they're going to pay an extra 10%. So I said, no, let's not do that. Let's keep enough money in your traditional 401k to handle what you're going to need for the next 3.5 years. And I said, beyond that, I want to keep an extra $100,000 just in case there's some real emergencies there. I will say their 401k didn't offer a lot of options for them, so it probably did make sense. In fact, it did make sense to roll over to an IRA, just not all of it.
Okay.
So we kept some that we put in and called the guaranteed fund, so they were able to get a fixed interest rate that they could count on during that period of time. But the rest ended up needing to be rolled over. But you shouldn't just make an assumption, oh, I'm retiring, I should roll my 401k over to an IRA. That should not be the assumption. The assumption is, okay, what's going to work for what I'm going through right now?
And that's not the first time we've run into that, by the way. Where someone was told to roll everything out, and it really shouldn't have. It wasn't appropriate for their situation.
Sure, that makes sense, because obviously there can be that knee-jerk decision, because like you mentioned earlier, Greg, obviously emotions come into it too, and you often react too quickly when you're dealing from a place of emotion.
Well, that's kind of the difference really between dealing with a financial planner versus a retirement planner. Because if you're dealing with retirement every day, you're thinking about things like that. You're thinking about what happens if they retire early. How do we deal with Social Security? What about Medicare? You know, all those things that have to deal specifically with retirement. The financial planners, I do believe, have the best interest at heart. It's just they're not really up to speed with some of these things.
Yeah,
Right.
and the same is true with pension decisions as well, because how many times have we met with people over the years, Greg, where it's kind of the thought process of do the best for me right now. And sometimes that can hurt you in the long run. And what I mean by that is when you have a family and you have a spouse, maybe the husband has the pension options, and you're looking at a wife that maybe is younger. And so you're looking at your decisions and saying, okay, if I take the full pension payout, I'll get the maximum amount of money possible. But if I do the spousal continuation, I'll lose out a little bit. Well, sometimes it's better to lose out a little bit for the long run, as we've seen in cases over the years. I'm thinking of one off the top of my head that their single life payout option was around $8,000 a month. Well, to take the spousal continuation option, they were only going to lose $100 a month.
Wow.
And when you're stressed and trying to figure out what to do quickly, you might be tempted to not want to lose that $100 a month. But in the long run, it makes so much more sense to just take the $7,900 a month and not have to worry about what your wife will do, you know, should something happen to you prematurely.
That's a great point. And, you know,
Yes.
Cynthia, what's interesting is there's two sides to every coin when it's talking about buyouts. Just about a month ago, a lady that we've worked with now for a couple of years, she was offered a buyout, and she came in and she's saying, hallelujah. She was so stressed in her job. You know, her company was bought out and things weren't like they had been. And she had basically 3 jobs piled on top of her within her one pay grade.
Okay, the writing was on the wall.
Yes. And so she had actually been praying for a buyout.
Please, please.
Yes. So she came in and she said, Greg, I got my buyout. I said, you're kidding. She said, no, I'm going to get an entire year's salary up front.
Wow.
They're buying me out. And I said, okay. So we have a couple of decisions to make now. I said, your 401k and your pension. Now, in her case, we did the math on the pension, and it made sense for her as a single lady to take her monthly annuity, single life, from the company. So that we did the math to see, we checked the lump sum. If we did a private annuity, it was going to be about $400 a month less in her situation. I said, we can't do the private annuity here. You need to do the company annuity, do it single life, and it's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And so for her, keeping the pension with the company, getting the single life annuity made absolute sense. For some, that pension option, if you take the lump sum, we just met with another couple that taking the lump sum was going to give them $100 per month less than the joint pension. However, the wife was very ill, and the private annuity we were choosing had a clause there where if one of them went to a nursing home, the income could double for up to 5 years.
Okay.
So it gave them the opportunity to help cover long-term care costs from that. So even though it was $100 a month less to take the private annuity, that benefit for long-term care made it worth it.
Wow.
So this is why I say don't make a quick decision here.
Yeah.
Just with your 401k, with your pension, but really know that it's going to be in your best interest whatever you do.
Yeah. Sure. And can you change your mind once that decision has been made? No.
No.
Wow. So you have to make the right choice up front.
You do.
Well, Kristen, you and Greg obviously have set aside some special time for new clients. Let's talk about what that process looks like before we open up the phones.
Yeah, if you haven't been able to tell throughout our conversation here, we've met with plenty of families over the years that have pension and 401k and buyout options that happen, or unexpected retirements that happen within years of when they were expected to occur. So we have experience in that. And if your family's facing decisions on what to do right now with your retirement buyout, possibly give us a call at 614-336-7660, or go online at legacyretirementgroup.com and you can schedule right from our website.
Kristen, thank you so much. Greg, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call, 614-336-7660. We know that you're in the viewing audience today and that you want to claim that complimentary consultation. Please, this is the opportunity for you to do so. 614-336-7660. If you don't have your pen, you can grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some of that retirement income that's coming in. Greg and Kristen can come up with some formulations to help that be a very smooth process. Stay tuned.
They've got quite an extensive resume. Wow, so many years of management. Bet that was fun. So this job requires basic knowledge of the social media and video platforms, content creation, and SEO. How proficient are you in those areas?
Going back to work after retiring is not ideal. I'm Kristen Taylor with Legacy Retirement Group. If you've amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. We're in one of the greatest tax windows in history, so it makes sense to take advantage of this tax discount while you can. We specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and much more. Plan your retirement right. For your complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis, go to testmyretirement.com.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. And we're talking a little bit about what happens if you've been laid off unexpectedly or you're forced into retirement earlier than what you anticipated. I would have to say for people that are going into this unexpectedly, they were maybe inching closer to retirement, but they didn't expect it to hit right then and there. Income obviously becomes a bigger issue. So let's talk a little bit about that. It's a huge concern. Where does that income come from, Kristen?
Yes, so I think that's the biggest issue there is when you get laid off unexpectedly is, okay, where's my paycheck going to come from now? I didn't plan on this. So that's why I said assessing the financial situation up front and realizing you need a plan is the most important part of the entire process. And as far as income goes, income equals lifestyle, right? If you don't have income coming in, it's hard to live. And so we would say immediately, if it's possible, claim unemployment or file for unemployment so that you can claim that benefit while you're trying to figure things out. This will buy you a little bit of time as we start looking through your plan, looking to see what your income needs are and deciding maybe it's possible that you could actually retire and just take on some part-time work or look into a consulting job of some sort. I know so many professionals that we've worked with over the years have done that instead of going into another full-blown career.
Okay.
Yes, and there's a lot of freedom, Cynthia, in knowing you can, even if you don't want to. And so many times people come in to find out when they're placed in these situations to find out, can I retire? So back, it's right around 2020, right during the pandemic, the local Honda plant was offering buyouts on a huge scale. So we probably met with 60 to 70 different families that were facing this decision. Some were still in their 40s, a lot of them were in their 50s, some were in their 60s. And so as we met with these families, that was the number one thing. Can we retire? Can we take this buyout? Should we take this buyout? Now, I have to say, with some families, I looked at them and said, you're 43 years old. You really shouldn't take the buyout. That's, there's way too many years to try to figure this income out for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to recommend that you do not take the buyout. Or if you're bound and determined to take the buyout, figure out, okay, where's my career path going to go next?
Sure.
And can you find another job? Can you make what you make now? So that was one thing. And so as we went through that, a lot of families, in fact, we probably, at least half of them ended up coming to work with us and having us help them create a retirement plan. But it's more than just money. It's, okay, are you ready emotionally?
Yes, it's a big one.
Can you function in your world and not be working any longer? And some people can, and some people have a tough time with that.
When I think with that goes to say that you need to have a short-term plan and a long-term plan, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because things will change throughout the whole process. Like I said, you can take unemployment possibly as you're trying to figure things out, but in that interim, you're going to need a short-term plan. What are you going to do to supplement the extra income you need while you're trying to figure out if you're going to have to keep working? And then a long-term plan to say, okay, I don't want to be caught off guard again. So if this were to happen during my next job, what's my long-term plan look like? What do I need to do? What goal do I need to reach towards in order to make sure I'm successful in my retirement years?
You know, we call this show Winning Retirement because we want people to win. We want them to be
Absolutely.
successful. We want them to feel like, okay, I can retire and I don't have to ever take a step backwards.
Right.
And the way you do that is it really becomes an equation. There's a lot of math involved in helping people be honest with themselves about what they really need to spend every year. That's a tough one. But once you've come to that conclusion, now we're going to figure out, okay, what dependable income streams are you already going to have? Pension, Social Security, things like that are coming in. How much do you actually need? Okay, well, we're going to find that gap. We're going to find that number. And we're going to try to find the absolute least amount of money necessary to close that gap.
So it's like test driving your retirement just to make sure that you're going to be
I like
okay.
that.
It is. It's very similar to that because you're really trying to figure out what works. You know, my son was struggling with math, my oldest son, and I said, okay, let me sit down with you. Let me look at it. Let me have my younger son, who is just a math genius, look at it. And then Greg was in the kitchen. We're all showing him different ways, trying to make sure what makes sense to him. And finally, the light bulb went off. It made sense. He had a direct path to get this equation solved. But it took a few brains, a few borrowed brains, if you will, to get him there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. But then you came up with a plan, one that fit.
Yep.
That's amazing, much like planning for retirement. Well, Greg, with only a minute and a half left of the show this week, any final words of wisdom and guidance that you'd like to give our viewers at home before we say goodbye?
I think the biggest part of this equation is having a written income plan.
Yes.
One that gives you confidence. Because a plan without confidence is worthless. It really is. You need a plan that makes you confident that you're going to be able to retire. You're going to be able to live the rest of your retirement days without running out of your money. And once you have that, now you can decide, okay, now I have control. Do I want to retire or do I not?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about that, just having
really is.
that peace of mind. And like you said, just having that plan in place, one that you can refer to when life changes. It's adaptable. We've talked about that. It's customizable for whatever comes your way.
It really is.
Well, thank you for another amazing episode this week. To our viewers at home, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us today on Winning Retirement TV. What Greg and Kristen are offering you today is a complimentary consultation, and claim your complimentary consultation by calling in 614-336-7660. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years, and you deserve to have the retirement of your dreams. Don't miss the opportunity, or pick up the phone. Just go ahead, grab that smartphone. QR code's right at the corner of your screen. Click on that code. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on Winning Retirement Television with Greg and Kristen Taylor. Take care now.